So let's talk about intermittent fasting. It sounds complicated, right? Like some intense scientific diet protocol, but it's not. It's actually pretty simple. It's less about what you eat and more about when you eat. Think of it like this. You just give your body a longer break from digesting food. You have a window of time when you eat your meals, and a window of time when you don't. That's it. No special shakes, no counting every single calorie, no forbidden food lists. It's just a pattern, a rhythm for your day. For me, that simplicity was the most attractive part. It felt less like a diet and more like a simple experiment. I had tried everything before this. Seriously, you name the diet, I probably gave it a shot for a week or two. Low carb, high protein, meal prepping, tiny containers of chicken and broccoli. It was all so exhausting. I spent so much mental energy just thinking about food rules. What can I eat now? Did I eat too much of this? The constant decision-making was draining me. It felt like I was always fighting against my own body, and I was always losing that fight. I needed something that wouldn't add more complexity to my life. I was looking for a system that would simplify things, not make them harder. The idea of intermittent fasting kept popping up. I saw it online, heard people talking about it. At first I dismissed it. Skipping breakfast? No way. It sounded extreme, almost like punishing yourself. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized it wasn't about punishment at all. It was about listening to your body's natural cycles. Our ancestors didn't have a 24/7 grocery store. They ate when food was available. This felt like a return to a more natural way of living, a way to reset my relationship with food and hunger, which had become so complicated over the years. So I decided to give it a try. I told myself it would be a 30-day experiment, no pressure. If it didn't work, I could just stop. This mindset was key. It wasn't a lifelong commitment or a new identity. It was just an experiment, a small tweak to my daily routine. By framing it this way, I took all the pressure off myself. It became a curiosity project rather than another daunting diet plan destined to fail. This approach made starting feel easy and manageable, which is often the biggest hurdle when you're trying to make a positive change in your life. My reason for starting was simple. I felt stuck. I was in a rut, not just with my health, but with my focus and energy levels too. Every afternoon around 2 p.m. I would hit a wall. My brain would feel foggy, and all I wanted was a nap or another cup of coffee. I felt like I was just going through the motions, powered by caffeine and sugar. My workouts felt sluggish, and I wasn't happy with how I felt in my own skin. I knew something needed to change, but the traditional path of strict dieting just felt like a dead end for me. It was a cycle of restriction, failure, and guilt. I decided to start with the 16-8 method. It's the most common one. You fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. I chose my eating window to be from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. This meant I would skip my usual breakfast. My first day was, to be honest, pretty tough. I woke up and my stomach immediately started rumbling. My brain was screaming for toast and coffee with milk. It was like my body was on autopilot, following years of programming. I drank black coffee, which is allowed, and a lot of water. It felt strange just sitting at my desk with water while my mind was fixated on food. Those first few days were a real test of my willpower. The hunger wasn't just physical, it was mental. It was the habit of eating in the morning that was the hardest thing to break. I was so used to starting my day with food that my body and mind expected it. I found myself watching the clock constantly, counting down the minutes until noon. It was a struggle to concentrate on my work. I remember thinking, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm just a breakfast person. The temptation to just give in and make a bowl of oatmeal was incredibly strong. It was a battle against deeply ingrained habits. To get through it, I had to find distractions. I made sure my mornings were packed with my most important tasks. This gave my brain something to focus on other than my empty stomach. I would drink sparkling water to make things feel a bit more interesting, and I kept reminding myself why I started this experiment in the first place. I wanted to feel better, have more energy, and break free from that constant brain fog. I told myself to just get through one more hour, and then another. It was a slow process of pushing through the discomfort one morning at a time. After about a week, something shifted. It wasn't sudden, but I started to notice that the morning hunger wasn't so intense anymore. It was like my body was finally getting the message. I would wake up, have my black coffee, and I could actually focus on my work. The desperate clock watching stopped. I was no longer a hungry monster waiting for noon to strike. My body was adapting. It was learning to use its own stored energy for fuel instead of demanding an immediate hit of food. This was a huge turning point. It felt like I had unlocked a new level of control over my own body. I learned to listen to my body in a new way. I realized that much of my hunger before was just habit or boredom. By pushing past that initial morning craving, I discovered what real hunger felt like. And when it was time to eat at noon, I enjoyed my food so much more. My first meal of the day became something I truly savored. I focused on eating whole, nutritious foods because I wanted to fuel my body well. I wasn't just mindlessly snacking anymore. The fasting window made my eating window more intentional and much more enjoyable. It simplified my food choices. One of the biggest challenges was social situations. What do you do when a friend wants to grab breakfast? Or when your office has a morning meeting with donuts? At first, I felt awkward. I would just have a black coffee and try to explain what I was doing. Sometimes people got it, sometimes they didn't. I learned not to be preachy about it. I'd just say, I'm not hungry right now, but thanks. It's a simple, honest answer. I realized I didn't need to justify my choices to anyone. It was my experiment, my journey, and it was okay if it looked different from someone else's. Over time, I also learned to be flexible. Intermittent fasting is a tool, not a prison. If I was on vacation or there was a special occasion, I wouldn't stress about sticking to my schedule perfectly. I would enjoy the moment and then get back to my routine the next day. This flexibility is what has made it so sustainable for me. It's not about being perfect 100% of the time. It's about having a system that works for you most of the time. This took the pressure off and allowed it to become a natural part of my lifestyle, not a rigid set of rules. The benefits started to show up in ways I didn't expect. Sure, I lost a bit of weight and felt leaner, which was great, but the biggest change was mental. That afternoon brain fog, it completely disappeared. I suddenly had sustained energy throughout the entire day. My mornings, which used to be my most sluggish time, became my most productive. I had a new level of mental clarity and focus that I hadn't felt in years. It was like a veil had been lifted from my brain. I was getting more done, and I felt sharper and more creative in my work. This journey taught me that I am not a slave to my hunger or my old habits. It gave me a sense of control and empowerment. I learned that I could feel uncomfortable and push through it. That resilience spilled over into other areas of my life. I became more disciplined with my work, my workouts, and other personal goals. Intermittent fasting wasn't just a diet, it was a form of mental training. It proved to me that I could make intentional choices and stick with them, which built a lot of self-trust. That feeling is probably the best benefit of all. If you're thinking about trying this, my advice is to start small. You don't have to jump into a 16-hour fast on day one. Maybe just try pushing your breakfast back by an hour. See how that feels. Then, maybe try a 12-hour fast, eating from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's all about small, incremental steps. Listen to your body and be patient with yourself. And of course, it's always a good idea to talk to a doctor before you make any big changes to your diet, especially if you have any health conditions. This is about finding what works for you. Ultimately, intermittent fasting was a tool that helped me reset my relationship with food and my own body. It simplified my life and gave me more energy and focus than any other diet ever had. It's not a magic bullet, but for me, it was the simple, sustainable change I was always looking for. It shows that you don't need complex rules to see real results. Sometimes the most powerful changes come from the simplest ideas. You just have to be willing to experiment and see what works for your own life. You might be surprised at what you're capable of.